Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm here. We were worried you weren't there. We were trying to find you.
I'm sorry, it's the timing.
I know, I know. Thank you for staying up till 2:30 in the morning in Hamburg. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for attending and watching the film. Really, I appreciate it.
Well, congratulations on all the international success this film has gotten, and it's appeared all across the world at different festivals. So we were thrilled that we would be able to include it at TPFF.
I really thank you very much for the opportunity, and really, I wish I could be there with you. But hopefully, in the next editions, I would have the pleasure to meet you all.
Yes, we would love that, and we'll get to that question. But instead of starting with what's next, let's start from the very beginning. And can you tell us a little bit about the background of this film and the story, and you know, what prompted you to explore the all the themes all the themes in the film, because it's so layered, and I just feel like there's a lot of I don't know, history in there that you've brought out. And so if you can tell us just a little bit about the making of this story.
As you maybe all know, or for those who don't, light of the Syrians in the occupied Golan Heights is not known to many. We lived under the Israeli occupation for more than half a century, and somehow I am a generation that I don't know Syria, I don't know my homeland, and I feel like I always felt like I was born into exile, even though I was amongst my people and in my village, but I didn't know the capital city. I still don't know the capital city of my homeland. So somehow this feeling of exile, feeling of estrangement, and displacement was present. Is present in the Golan Heights, and it's a feeling that you cannot avoid. Of course, you can fool yourself, but that's a different topic. Maybe we talk about it if you like, but it's a different thing. However, this film is not really based on any autobiographical or one experience that I know or a story that I know, but more of I tried to make a collage, let's call it, of feelings. It's a collection of feelings, from my feelings, emotions of other people I know, and those also that I don't know, those who have the right to come back to their homes that they were expelled by the Israelis in the '67. So it's a collection of emotions, and I was driven by the idea to try to portray a certain notion, or to portray these emotions, and I was very more interested in character studying more than storytelling, if I can say. So for me, Adnan is he can represent also the Golan Height itself. I mean, the weight, the displacement, the expectations, and many other things. Of course, I would let that also to the audience. I try to let the audience also feel responsible on reconstructing what they have experienced in this world I invited them to. But that's what I can say about the film. It is really a portrait of many emotions, including some, let's say, collective experience as the weight for something, as the weight for as being estranged, and as dreaming of magical homeland that we don't know.
Yeah, well, I think you absolutely succeeded in that. And you know, one thing that I noted with the film, it wasn't just the emotions of the or the characters that came out in the film, but the landscape almost seemed to be a character in and of itself, or at least an extension of the character. So can you talk a little bit about you know, the landscape and where you filmed? The cinematography, I think, is extraordinary, but it just really almost felt like a character on its own.
Yes, of course. I think the space first is always a character. You know, it always plays character in every story. At least it should. And cinema, in my opinion, and at least in my taste, I don't like to copy the place as it is, but I like to use the space, portraying the space. So the Golan Heights, the landscape, or let's say, the eye that you saw the Golan Heights in here is much of also the eye or the feelings of Adnan, through the feelings of Adnan. Or I try to use the place to generate that emotion. So I chose, let's say, more of what even actually many residents from the Golan Heights, when they see the film, they feel unfamiliar with many frames of this place, because it's chosen from carefully in order to serve, not only to show Casey the Golan Heights, but also to serve the character, to serve its mood, to serve its ambition and its frustration, also to show the beauty, but also the darkness, to show the fog and the uncertainty, and so of course, in this sense, the space is important, and the landscapes are essential to my storytelling. The relationship between nature and human always have also caught my attention. But I also have to say that what was important in this film for me, or at least in my cinematic approach, is also to portray the out of sight. Not only what we see, but also what we don't see. And this perhaps comes from this adoption of this language. Maybe, let's say, it comes from also what we experience in the Golan Heights. Homeland that is out of sight, and especially when the Syrian revolution started, and we start to experience this war from afar, and we heard for over 8 years, we've been hearing war but not seeing war, but we were seeing beautiful landscapes of the Golan Heights. And of course, some of you have been to the Golan Heights and really saw how beautiful is this nature. It's a mountainous area, snowy in winter, and green in spring. It's like really perfect. But to live in this landscape with hearing war all the time was really something confusing. And I remember it also brought people into gradual depression. So our relationship with the space is always important for our understanding, or the search for our understanding of our existence somehow. And in this film, I tried to really use the space and out of sight space also, using also all these decisions in editing also of what to leave outside the frame, and to adopt these dramatic engines through, so that the out of sight is a engine, like driving us also dramatically. So yeah, it's many things, of course, but that's what I say.
Now, you know, when we talk to our other filmmakers, they've expressed challenges as a Palestinian filmmaker trying to film in the West Bank. Did you, and you know, many of them will have different crews, you know, crews who can work in 48 and crews who can work in the West Bank or Gaza, and those sorts of complications around movement and borders. Did you experience any of those similar challenges in making this film?
Um, to be honest, not really, but because the perhaps the occupation in the Golan Heights is not similar in the daily life to the occupation felt, the physical occupation felt in the West Bank with all the checkpoints and this unfortunate life they have there. But it's open. Like we, for example, we don't have these checkpoints to Israel. So, but somehow also this Golan Heights, there's this 4-5 villages that they are geographically a bit far from Israel civilization, or let's say I don't know how you say that, but in English, so my English, but there is of course settlements, many Israeli settlements, but somehow we still have our kind of, we're a bit far from geographically. We're like on the top, at the border with Syria. Somehow this also helps. Islam, you can live there and not feel that involved with this daily life, but also there is the presence of the Israeli army patrols, and because it's somehow a military kind of area, you know, and there is many, so you feel it. They're there, and then but there is no daily tackle with them, you know, and that saying that doesn't make this occupation easier. Honestly, it makes it even harder sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I also show in the film, if you so I really made it was important for me to show this and put it there. And that, if you remember the scene where they are stopped by an army checkpoint, patrol checkpoint, and that how the people there, how the people have become friendly to them, or have developed this kind of unhealthy, or let's say organic, unoriginal relationship with them, just because somehow. But our main character that cannot accept it, because he somehow represents also our inner characters, you know, in the Golan Heights. But I also offered these that those who let's say rather, I said it maybe before, but like I would say it again, they would rather fooling themselves in order not to suffer, and those are existing among us. So, however, when we shot the film, we didn't really have any of these tackles, or that Palestinian productions in the West Bank tackle usually. But I can mention only one thing, that we wanted to shoot in the real border, and I wanted the Israeli patrol that we hired, which was for renting. I wanted it to walk or to drive on the real border, to use the. And then, of course, we got stopped, and we said like, okay, you cannot do that. And so, but we had the plan B, was really to build a border. But first, we tried in the pre-production to go there, and then of course they came immediately and they said, you cannot shoot here and this and that. So we weren't really free. But then we built the border, and it gave me more flexibility in this. Scenes, but of course I wanted to shoot in the real border to show the real border. But the real border is shown in the film in many places, but only for some scenes we had to build it when we are very close to it, when there's something happening there in the story.
Yeah, this film was the Palestinian entry to the Oscars. And within the film, I also saw some of my favorite Palestinian actors. I think some of the producers are Palestinian as well. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration and how that came about?
I mean, I always said that this was great honor for me and also for the Golden Heights to be to represent Palestine in the Oscar race, um, and even because we in the Golden Heights are of course we consider Syria as our homeland, but this gesture was amazing, and it was because since what is Syria going through now and the regime that I could not represent this regime, or because this is also, I'm not sure if you can even submit from Syria to the Oscar. It's like really complicated. But of course that wasn't an option, and then so Palestine really chose it and selected it, and for me that was a very kind gesture, a warm gesture, and as if it was a warm embrace for me, especially for us in the Golan Heights, because no matter, like we are of course part of the Syrian, we consider ourselves Syrians, but we are also part of the Palestinian street. I mean, somehow we share the same weight, we share the same living under the occupation, and we can really connect. I can go to the West Bank. I feel like we are somehow, to my generation, I feel more involved as a Palestinian than involved as a Syrian in the daily life. So of course, also because the producers of the film were Palestinians, Tony and Jerry Skopti, and they are both from Jaffa. And that was also a label for us, for the film to be considered also Palestinian according to the Academy conditions. And but this is also what is beautiful about it, because there is no borders here, and suddenly the film from the Golan Heights that did not take any Israeli money that was offered to it also makes its way to tell the story in its original identity. And this for me is also a kind of a resistance and a statement that is very important to be heard.
That's a beautiful, yes. That is a beautiful statement. We love seeing these kinds of collaborations happen, and of course we are also super honored to have you at our festival. I'm going to turn it over to the audience if I can see them, if anyone has any questions. Do I see any hands? Yeah, I see a person in a white shirt. That would be you? Yeah.
Do I need a microphone?
You can yell and I'll repeat the question.
Can you hear me, Amir?
I don't think so. I think it's too far.
Too far? Should I come?
You can yell if you want. You can yell it, or if you really want to speak to him
maximum I
personally,
can.
you can come run down.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I've come.
You got your sneakers on.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Amir. I'm from Al Khashniye.
Wow.
This is the first time I hear my village name in a movie. That's beautiful. I wanted to ask, I've seen Ihab Rabia's movie, The Taste of Apple is Red in TIFF. I kind of saw the use of animals in the context. Like you use the dog, the cow. I was curious more to know about this.
About what exactly?
About the animals. Yeah. Is it
Okay,
stupid
the
question? I
animals.
don't know.
I didn't understand the connection.
Yeah. Yeah, the symbolism, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because there is so much symbolism, the relationship between the father, the motherland, whatever. Yeah, if you have an answer.
Yeah, the use of animals as also use of many other elements in the film. It is I usually refuse to give my own interpretation to the symbolism or to metaphors in my film. So, um, but um, but as I said even before, the dog is with three legs, and he somehow represents what's somehow Adnan is also about is the black sheep. Adnan is our character here, and he's been always. Um, so the dog, for example, I don't know if you noticed, but we hear always the dogs barking, the other dogs barking, but we don't see them as if also what is we hear the word but we don't see it. And these elements, of course, are built in a way to let you, the audience, marinate in the moment and choose patterns for the story to take it and try to reconstruct, as I said, the image you want as well. You can also look at it as if it's not really that symbolic and it is just there. But of course, I provide at least, or I make sure I provide this horizon of metaphors, let's say. So I hope I answered the question.
I think so. Oh, I see a question over there.
Need to come over.
You can just yell it because we're sort of running out of time.
Okay, so I'm also from the Golan. I'm from Majd al-Shams.
Oh,
If you can hear me.
sorry. Okay, you know what? Just come quickly. Go quickly. I don't want to exclude anyone who's actually from the Golan.
Thank you. So I was saying I'm also from the Golan. I'm from Majd al-Shams originally, and I'm so proud of your accomplishment. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I can't see you really.
Okay.
Do we know each other? Because it's very far.
Okay. I guess we know each other by heart. So what resonates with me is Adnan's character, and I would like to know how you interpret that. His fierce independence, his lack of trust in others, his way of doing it his way. What are you trying to describe? Because this identity is, it seems common. I don't want to give you the answer, but I want you to tell us your interpretation of this character, what you are trying to share.
Okay, as I said, my own interpretation is not important really. I think what is important is you. I mean, for me, for any artist, I think also this dimension that is created after experiencing or watching the film between the creator and the audience. Sometimes it is really, it could be magical, and it is magical, and it's really thoughtful always. So sometimes, I mean, people who saw the film send me letters, and I got over maybe 100 letters over the past year. And when I say letters, I say it's like more than 3 pages letters. The people just analyze and spell their heart out of, or interpretate also what they just saw. And I have to say, 90% of these interpretations I never meant, you know, and of course this is really exactly what really makes me happy and makes me and assures me that I did the right thing, that I did not force on you a certain thought or a certain political even or ideology so, you know, so this is very important. It is approaching art with morality, with high morality, approaching art with respect, respecting the audience, respecting its intelligence, their intelligence, sorry. And so what I can tell you about the character Adnan and not leave you with this diplomatic answer is that for me Adnan is a nostalgic character, but not especially what we all know, nostalgia usually is directed towards the past, but I also believe that nostalgia can be directed towards the future. You could long for a place that once existed before, but you can also long for a place that never existed before. Adnan is a nostalgic character, nostalgic to the future, and he really dreams I mean, with all his absurdity and existential crisis that I tried to portray, of a man ready to sacrifice himself also for the sake of his future, the unknown future also. This is full of hope, in my opinion, although I tried to compress him and bring out the darkest sides of his character, but also I left there some hope, and especially, I mean, maybe the epilogue in the film and the poetry composed there helps. I tried, gets the closest to Adnan's stormy soul. So, and it would be so unfair if I would just tell you what is Adnan for me, and then leave all this approach that I tried, the language I tried to tell you exactly what you want to know. That would be unfair now, and not really on to the point if I say what I really think about Adnan.
So do we have any more questions from the Golan Heights? I do not want to exclude any. Okay.
I'm also from the Golan Heights. I just want to ask him, what made you decide when the religious people, they decided to make funeral, to show that they belong to the homeland, then you decided not that Adnan would take the boy to the tree. What's the message you want to deliver from this?
Did you hear that?
No,
No.
I'm sorry. I
So
didn't
she's also from the Golan Heights, and she wanted to talk about the symbolism with the religious people, and you know, the funeral started off as a national funeral representing the homeland, and then ended up him being buried at the tree. So she just wanted you to talk about. Did I get that, or is that another interpretation question that?